Hello guys, it's Miss Garcia. Welcome to Math City with Miss G. In this video, we are going to talk about squares. Squares have all the properties of parallelograms, rectangles, and rhombi. And these are all listed down below. Let us start with the first one. Opposite sides are parallel. What this means is that if we are going to refer to the figure on the screen, segment AC is opposite to segment BD. So this means if we were to extend these sides, these two sides will never intersect at any point. So they are considered parallel. So we have segment AC is parallel to segment BD. Another example is segment AB is parallel to segment CD. The second property is that opposite sides are congruent. This simply means that opposite sides have the same measurement. So if we were to use the same sides, segment AC is congruent to segment BD, and it also follows that segment AB is congruent to segment CD. The third property is that opposite angles are congruent. So if we are to focus on a square, we know that the corners of a square measures 90 degrees. Because each of the corners measures 90 degrees, therefore they are congruent. They have the same measurement. The next property is that consecutive angles are supplementary. And supplementary angles simply means that two angles when added together adds up to 180. So supplementary angles are angles that share a common side. So if we are going to go back to the same example earlier, so let me highlight CAC. So consecutive angles are this angle and this angle. They share a common side. So if I am to add these two angles together, it is going to be equal to 180 degrees. The next property is that diagonals bisect each other. So bisect each other. So that simply means that the diagonal CB bisect segment AD. So each of these diagonals divide each other equally. So that means they have equal measures. The next property is all angles are right angles. So all right angles. The next property is that all sides are congruent. So in a square, this symbol, if you take a look, notice that we see this symbol right here. These are called tick marks. So this tick mark simply tells us that the sides, which means the measurement of the sides of a square, are congruent. Diagonals are congruent. So because it is a square, then it follows that diagonals are going to be congruent. So which means segment AD is congruent to segment CB. The next property is that the diagonals are perpendicular. So perpendicular meaning that these two diagonals, the green and the pink line, segment CB and segment AD, creates a right angle in the middle. So not only this angle here, but as well as this. So all angles in the center creates 90 degrees angle. So that is what we meant by diagonals are perpendicular. And the last property is that diagonals bisect opposite angles. So what this means is that if the diagonal bisect opposite angles, so if this is 90 degrees right here, this is 90, then it follows that this is going to be, let's say, if that is 90, we divide that by 2, that is going to be 45. So meaning this angle is 45 degrees, this angle will also be 45 degrees. At the same time, the opposite angle is 45 degrees each. So that is what we meant by diagonals bisect. Bisect simply means two angles or an angle is divided equally. And we are referring to opposite sides, and in this case, what divides the angle, it's the diagonal that divides the angle equally. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Let us use this information and try to answer this question. If BCDE is a square, find the missing measure. So we have CE, we are asked that's where CE is, and CE is the whole thing. So if this is 8, then therefore this is going to be 8 as well. Then therefore CE is going to be 16 feet. And we are asked to find BC. So if this are 8, so each of these right here are also going to be 8 feet. And we are to find BC. That's letter B. So to find these of BC, we are going to take just this part of the figure. So we are going to focus on one triangle. If we recall, diagonals are perpendicular, so meaning it creates a right angle. So that means we can use Pythagorean theorem in order to find BC. So to find BC, because BC is opposite of the right angle, so this is going to be considered the longest side. I am going to label that as X. So if we are to use Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, my A and B have the same measurement, and that is 8 square plus 8 square. And the C, which is the longest side, I represent that with X. And so 64 plus 64 equals X squared. So that makes 128. So if we are to extract the square roots of both, so X is equal to a decimal. Let's use tens place. So that would be 11.3. So BC is 11.3 feet. This time we are asked to find the measure of angle CFD. So CFD is right here, CFD. So it is simply referring to this angle, CFD. So that is obviously 90 degrees. So we are just going to write 90. The next question is find the measure of angle DBE. So let's locate where DBE is. DB, so DBE. So that's referring to this angle. So since this is a square, so the whole thing, the corner measures 90 degrees. So half of 90 is 45. So this angle here is 45 degrees. So then therefore, letter D, the answer is 45 degrees. All right, let us try and answer another question. Let's try this one. If QRST is a square, find QS. So let's locate where QS is. QS is the whole diagonal. Okay. So since we are looking for a diagonal and we're only given with one side, and that side is this side and it measures 21, then it follows this will also be 21 centimeters. So in this case, we are going to focus on one triangle. And that triangle that we are going to have is this whole triangle right here. Half of the square. And half of a square is considered a right triangle. So in finding QS, which is the unknown, I'm going to make this whole length here, which we don't know, as our x. And that x is opposite of the right angle. And because it is opposite of the right angle, that happens to be our C value, the longest side, hypotenuse. So our A value are both 21. So we will have 21 square plus 21 square is equal to C or X. 21 square is 441 plus 441. Adding these two together, that makes 882 equals X squared. If we extract the square roots on both sides, it will give us a decimal. Let's use tens place. So X is equal to 29.69848. If we're to use tens place, so X is equal to 29.7. So in this case, QS is equal to 29.7 centimeters. I hope you find value in this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.